in the lonely vastness of the Pacific Ocean. More than 2,000 miles from the nearest continental shore lies Rapa Nui, better known as Easter Island. It is a place shrouded in mystery, its giant moai statues standing as silent guardians of a vanished past. Yet among the many enigmas of this island, none is more striking, more dramatic, or more revealing of human ingenuity and belief than the Birdman ritual, a ceremony where religion, politics, and survival fused into a single contest of life and death. For centuries, the Birdman cult defined the fate of chiefs, clans, and the very governance of Easter Island. To understand why men risked everything for a single egg plucked from a distant rock, one must first step back into the long shadows of this remote land where ecology, faith, and power collided. Long before Europeans first sighted the island on Easter Sunday in 1722, the people of Rapa Nui had already built one of the most remarkable civilizations in Polynesia. Skilled navigators had settled here around the 12th century, bringing with them crops, chickens, and the memory of ancestral homelands. Over generations, they erected towering stone effigies of their deified ancestors along the coasts. These statues gazed inland, their backs to the sea, projecting mana, the sacred spiritual force to protect their descendants. But the island was small, its forests finite, and its resources fragile. By the 16th and 17th centuries, the environmental strain of population growth, deforestation, and conflict fractured the society. Clan rivalries deepened, and the once unifying moai cult began to wane. In its place rose a new religious political system centered not on stone ancestors, but on the living triumph of a chosen man, the Tangata Manu, the Birdman. Each year, with the arrival of spring, attention turned to the jagged cliffs of a ceremonial village perched on the edge of the great volcanic crater of Ranokau. From its basalt stone houses, priests and clan leaders looked westward across the ocean, where three small islets, Motunui and Motokau, stood against the crashing waves. These barren outcrops were the nesting grounds of the sooty tern, a seabird whose eggs symbolized fertility and renewal. The ritual was as perilous as it was sacred. Competing warriors, known as Hopu, were chosen by rival chiefs to brave the descent down sheer cliffs, swim through shark-infested waters, and reach Motunui. Their mission was simple in word, but deadly in deed: to return with the first egg of the season. Whoever succeeded did not become Birdman himself. The honor passed to the chief he represented. That chief, now Tangata Manu, wielded sacred authority for the year, ruling both the political and spiritual life of the island. The stakes could not have been higher. For the victorious clan, the Birdman's triumph brought prestige, access to resources, and influence. For the loser, defeat meant political marginalization and sometimes violent retribution. The ceremonies themselves were drenched in symbolism. The Hopu stripped naked, bodies painted with ochre and charcoal, invoking ancestral spirits. They clutched small reed floats to help them across the ocean swells. Below them, jagged rocks waited to break a careless footstep. Above them, chants rose through the wind, prayers to make the god of fertility and creator of mankind, whose image adorned the petroglyphs carved into the stones of Orongo. As the birds arrived and laid their fragile treasures, the contest began. Some Hopu drowned, their bodies claimed by the relentless surf. Others were torn apart by sharks, but for those who survived the ordeal and found an egg, the final test awaited: the return. clutching the egg in a woven band against their forehead. They swam back to the cliffs, climbed once more, and presented the treasure to the waiting priests. The moment was electric. The victorious egg was held aloft, and the name of the new Birdman was proclaimed. The Tangata Manu's head was shaven, his body anointed with red ochre, and he was cloistered in a house of seclusion, where he lived apart from society for much of his reign. He embodied both sacred danger and divine authority, respected, feared, and obeyed. The ritual was not merely spectacle. It was politics disguised as theology, a way of channeling interclan rivalry into ritualized competition rather than constant bloodshed. It was also ecological, by tying authority to the cycles of seabirds. The islanders linked power to the rhythms of nature itself. When Europeans began visiting Rapa Nui, they were struck by the cult's intensity. In 1864, the missionary Eugene Ero recorded the rituals of Orongo with a mixture of fascination and horror. Petroglyphs of bird-headed men, vulvas symbolizing fertility, and images of make-make covered the village stones in thousands of engravings, bearing witness to centuries of devotion. But contact with the outside world spelled disaster. Slave raids from Peru in the 1860s, coupled with disease and missionary suppression, shattered the old traditions. By the late 19th century, the Birdman cult had been outlawed by Christian missionaries. Its ceremonies silenced, its priests disbanded. The last known Birdman was crowned around 1867. What had once been the heartbeat of the island's politics and spirituality became a memory, preserved only in oral tradition and the carvings at Orongo. Yet the Birdman has never truly vanished. Today, visitors to Easter Island still walk among the stone houses of Orongo, gazing down the same cliffs where warriors once risked everything. The petroglyphs of bird-headed men remain etched into the rock, staring defiantly across the ocean. They are echoes of a world where religion was lived, not preached, where authority was proven not by birthright alone, but by daring endurance and the will of the gods. The Birdman ritual reveals to us a profound truth about humanity, that power and belief are inseparable, that people across cultures have always woven their politics into the fabric of myth. On Rapa Nui, the fate of chiefs and clans turned on a single egg, born from the sea against impossible odds. Its legacy lives on, not in practice, but in symbol. Scholars continue to study the cult, linking it to wider Polynesian traditions of fertility and divine kingship. Archaeologists carefully preserve Orongo, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, ensuring that future generations can witness the stones that once saw the birth of Birdme. In today's world, the Birdman ritual stands as a reminder of the lengths to which humans will go to bind themselves to the natural world, to invest authority with sacred meaning, and to endure in the harshest of environments. It is a story of survival, faith, and identity etched, not only in stone, but in the spirit of a people who thrived against all odds in the most remote corner of the Pacific. This has been a journey into one of the most extraordinary rituals of the ancient world, a tale of cliffs and seas, of gods and men, of victory and sacrifice. If you value the effort it takes to bring these stories of the past alive, consider supporting the work behind this production so that history's forgotten voices, like those of the Birdmen of Easter Island, can continue to speak to us across the centuries.